There's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.
Hello and welcome to Fresh Starts Registry. A fresh story. We're holding our mics this episode. Leave that in.
It's this season.
Leave it in.
Leave it in. Leave it in. We're a mess. I'm a mess. I have wires. I have things. But welcome back.
How could you forget all these wires and waves?
Welcome back
to a fresh story.
To a fresh story. We are newly reinvigorated. That's not the word. We're excited.
No one knows what you're trying to say.
I don't know either. Let's take it back a notch. So we're recording this April 4th. You probably haven't heard a new episode from us since we had the lovely Ashley and Alexa on for the sibling season. That was kind of how we ended last year, which was an awesome season. And it got us thinking a lot about what we wanted to do with a fresh story in the new year and coming years. We have been podcasting for almost 3 years, which is wild. And so,
how many episodes of a fresh story are there, Olivia?
There's over 200 now. There's over 200.
Olivia is a podcast maniac.
I'm a podcast savant. And so when Jenny came to visit in February, we sat down at the table here that I am currently at, and we just talked about what we want for the podcast, which was really fun and kind of, I say scary only because we didn't really know what we wanted to do.
We didn't discuss this in October? I think it was October when I was February. There for Disney.
No.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so we decided we're going to do 3 seasons a year, but we're going to put a lot, kind of more thought and direction into
more focus.
Yeah. So this first season, which we're going to kick off, you're hearing it right now. Welcome, is about how people created their families. We are kind of obsessed with families, which we'll get into. Maybe it's because we have an interesting family, or because we've always kind of been the family tree people, I think, in our family a little bit.
I think that I've always been really focused on the home. I was just in Athens, and my husband and I were at the it was horrible.
So sorry. That's what happens. By the way, listeners, that's what happens when you don't have children. You can just go to Athens for the week.
So we were at the Acropolis Museum, and we were looking at all of these artifacts, and there was things from the home, combs and cups and things like that. And I was telling him how every time I was asked to do a project when I was in school, Greek history, Roman history, French culture, anything like that, I always was interested in the home and women's role and family and what women did, really. And so I think that it relates. I think that we were raised in a very, I wouldn't say matriarchal family, but a very sort of it was pretty matriarchal. It was pretty patriarchal too, but it was very, the homemakers were lauded and were very important. The mothers were very important. So I think there was a real focus on family. And also there were a lot of people. We had to sort of understand the structure.
I just had a revelation. Is this why one of your favorite mottos is we need to build a bigger table? Because we've always had huge tables in our family?
Yes. Oh. And because I think that we also have from, I would say, pop-up and coming down through dad. And I think mom would agree with this because mom says she gets a lot of her entertaining skills from dad's family. They are so inclusive.
Yeah.
Dad is so inclusive and community focused and friend focused. And our grandfather, pop-up, our paternal grandfather, was like, oh, yeah, bring him to dinner. It was always, of course, we'll add another chair at the table. And he had a comically long dinner table.
Dining room table. Yeah.
With a comically, a bizarrely large dining room, too.
Yeah, it was double size.
Yeah, and it was huge. We'll have to ask one of the aunts and uncles, how many people could fit at that table. But yeah, it really is. There's always a leaf to put in the table.
I love that. You know what's funny is you say you studied families. You know what I always studied in school?
Muppets?
Close. Entertainment. I was always the entertainment person.
I was close.
You were close. I And in fact, I say this to my kids all the time. I had to do a PowerPoint presentation in 6th grade on 1950s history, and I chose television. And it was that PowerPoint that literally made me want to go into media.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I was like, I love studying TV. Yeah. So
I didn't know that.
I still know the theme song to Howdy Doody. So
yeah, for some reason you guys did like a variety show with music from the TV shows. I also know the theme song
Weird
from Howdy
school.
Doody.
So we thought we would kick off this season. We are going to do separate episodes, which are forthcoming, talking about our nuclear families. But we thought we'd kick this off by talking about our giant extended family. We always say we came,
which I feel like we've done an episode about.
We have, but let's do our little refresh. I think for new listeners. Hello,
Okay.
welcome.
Hello,
we have a very big family. Welcome to the podcast. I think we did it 3 years ago, so I think it's time to do a new one. We're not going to get into details.
No, we're not going to get into details. I think that'll
be a shit list episode for another time. But we will just we'll take, as I always like to say on the podcast, let's go back to the beginning. So we have 4 grandparents. Well, 4
I mean, the question
biological.
is, how far do you go back into building your family? Like, know, your family, how many great grandparents do any of us have? It's like
a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I think to your point, all of our grandparents were New York Jews.
Yep. But they didn't meet in New York, all of them.
3 of them were from Brooklyn, and 1 of them is from the Bronx. She's still around. But the 3 deceased are all from Brooklyn.
Damn,
grew up there. But and Queens. Mom grew up a little in Queens.
New Jersey. But our maternal grandparents met in Wisconsin. They were both New York Jews, and they met in Wisconsin because our maternal grandfather, Hank, he was on the GI Bill after World War II and got the chance to go. Yeah, to
Wisconsin. But no, because then he was gone. He was gone while they were together.
No, he wasn't.
They were writing letters back
because
and forth.
he was in Wisconsin at law school and she was in New York.
I thought he was. Okay,
no.
They met after the war?
Yeah, they met after the war. He went after the war to law school in Wisconsin, and she went for 1 summer to Wisconsin.
She desperately wanted to go away to college.
And
they didn't have the money for it.
Thankfully, was going to Wisconsin. And so she went for the summer, and she tells, I don't know if you know this story, but she tells this story about how she stayed basically at a sorority house there over the summer. And our grandfather was like BMOC. He was like big man on campus, and he was a war veteran, and I mean, as most of the men were at the time.
Yeah,
but he was a Marine captain and very handsome. And they initially were friends, and they bantered. They had very witty, quick banter. She was training to become a doctor, and he was training to become a lawyer. And he invited her to the captain's ball or something. That was like some dance, and she had nothing to wear.
Her family was hit hard
by the depression. Yeah.
Like, they didn't have any money to start, and then they had even less money after. I mean, her mother was thin because she went without eating. They rented out rooms in their house.
Yeah, they had boarders.
And would all sleep in one room so that they could have some money.
So I believe she bought fabric in Wisconsin and shipped it home to New York for her mother to make her a dress.
Yeah.
And then shipped the dress back to Wisconsin. And all the girls in the dorm helped her get ready for the dance, and all watched her like some sort of movie scene go out with this captain.
I like the story about when they were at the beach. You know this story. We all know this story. They were at the beach, and she didn't have much. They didn't have anything.
No.
Our great grandfather was like an engineer, and he didn't really work during the. It was just bad. He had to travel sometimes to get some work. He was
in radio,
and radio and stuff like that during the war. And they had 3 kids. My grandmother was one of 3, and there was just no money. And so whatever she had was very important to her. And she had a little gold ring, and it was very, very important to her. And they were at the beach with a group of friends. And she wasn't even dating Papa yet, I don't think, or maybe they had just started dating. And her ring got lost. And it wasn't like a Kim Kardashian diamond earring in the Bali situation. Like, her ring got lost. And she was upset. It was all she had. And she always had a real chip on her shoulder because she felt that the other girls thought that she was complaining about her lost ring because she was trying to get a ring out of Papa Hank. And she was always really bitter about the fact that she felt misunderstood in that moment. Because she was like, I just wanted my ring. I didn't actually care. But that was sort of one of their founding stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then so they met, they sent letters. We have the letters back and forth. And then she was 19 when they got married, and she got pregnant with their first child. And then they had 4 kids. Our mother is the youngest. And then on our paternal side, our grandparents met. I don't remember how they met, but they had a shared love of sci-fi novels. Didn't know that.
They like the Rangers together too.
New York Rangers, big dorks. And
they had season pass Rangers tickets. That's how they met Richie and Elise.
Right. So so we come from, I don't know, just, that was them. And they're creative and unique
introduced.
people.
I think they were introduced by friends, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Julie would know.
And so that was our, like, our biological origins. And interestingly enough, our mother is the youngest on her in her family, and our father is the oldest in his family. So our
our mother's the youngest of 4, and our dad is the oldest of 7.
Yep. And
how did they meet?
They met in high school, right? They were 14.
They were 14. She had been a lifer at the school, which we're not going to name the school. She had been a lifer, meaning that she started when she was 3. And the high school for the school is like kind of a big deal. It's when I started. Olivia started in the 10th grade. And so our dad had gone from a local public school, really posh public school, to this pretty posh private school. And he came in, and she says that he walked in and he was a little obnoxious, and he had like sideburns. It was like 1974, mind you, sideburns. And he was like, just kind of like a little bit of a mess. And she was like, oh no, that's it. That's the father of my children. And she was like, she went into the bathroom and cried because she just knew, she says. And he says, by the way, that he decided on her very early, very, very early too. But they didn't start dating until they were like 16. Yeah.
Yeah. And they
I don't know how it started. You'll have to ask Mom, like, what the impetus was.
I don't know. I'm glad it happened, I guess. But I mean, yeah. And then they dated.
The day and the hour.
They dated. Sometimes I don't. They dated, on and off through college. They kind of had moments where they broke up here and there.
Yeah, but it's interesting to hear them talk about it, because even when they weren't together, it was never like acrimonious. It seems like it was really fluid, would be the word that I would use. And I think it's interesting because we talk so much now about like open relationships and like different kinds of relationships. And I think that they just were like,
I think they were best friends. I think that they were best
friends. And sometimes they were together and sometimes they weren't. And sometimes they weren't together, but he came to visit her. They went to school about, 2-3 hours apart from each other.
In Massachusetts, yeah.
Yeah, and she didn't drive, but he did. So I think he would come visit her a fair amount. And she was more in the country and he was more located near Boston. And they were together and they got married. He was still in college. Our dad had to do an extra year in college.
Yeah, he was 21 and she was 22 when they got married.
Yeah.
Right. And they were 25 when I was born, which is really scary. And then I'm the oldest of our family. And then you were born 2.5 years later. And then our brother, a lot of people are always shocked when we say we have a brother.
We have a brother. Really want to be part of it, guys.
We have a brother. His name is Colin.
He likes to stay offline.
He's getting married. And
I don't know if Colin wants people to know that.
He's getting married to a girl named Bridget, who we approve of. And
we adore.
He was born when I was 6. And then and then our parents famously got divorced. When I was
the divorce that launched the company.
Divorce when I was 10. Just kidding. And then when I was 13, our father had our half sister, which you can go back and listen to that episode. We have an episode with her.
Yeah,
Tess. So so we come from a blended family, and so then to go back for a second, one of the reasons divorce, is so meaningful to us in so many ways is that all of our grandparents got divorced. So by the time I was born, all of our grandparents were divorced. So I didn't know a world without their significant others.
4 Thanksgivings.
Right, 4 Thanksgivings. So our maternal grandmother ended up with a partner of 50 plus years who was the handsome dude next door where she was living, and they never got married, but they lived together and he adored her and she adored and tolerated him. And
And he was far more than tolerable, but she tolerated him.
She used to say he stole her oxygen.
She kicked him out of the bedroom
in the air.
He stole her oxygen.
And then our paternal grandfather,
had a caretaker.
Yeah, maternal. No, I meant maternal. Maternal grandfather had a caretaker for many years.
Podcast episode.
Yeah, people are gonna be like, "What the fuck is happening?" Rambling. And then he had a caretaker. He did date though.
He dated, and his caretaker was more than a caretaker, right? She was a companion, I think, is what they would call it. Like it was a non-romantic companion
our
relationship.
Maternal grandfather had Parkinson's disease very, very early. He was very young when he got it, and then he also lost his sight. So
macular degeneration, right.
But he still worked. He was a lawyer at a big law firm that he founded in New York City for many, many years, and he loved to go out to dinner every single night and hobnob, and he was quite the player. And so, he never let anything slow him down, which I think is something we have gotten from him.
He lasted a long time with the Parkinson's, which was, I think, tough for him. I mean, he really, his mind was pretty sharp until the very end, but his body was really deteriorating.
Yeah. But we always knew him with Parkinson's. So that was just part of our life.
Blind.
Blind. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he had a long-term companion who was also a caretaker, who took off later in life, but we always had her in our life too.
Right.
Until then she left.
Right. The things got odd.
And then on our dad's side, our paternal grandmother, who's still around, still kicking, she is a tough lady. She was married, she got remarried and had that 7th kid with her second husband. It's crazy that she's only had 2 husbands. And she's still around there. She's now again divorced from that second husband, but she's social and she works at a antique store, and she became a lawyer later in life and did real estate. Like both of our grandmothers were just like
badass
hotshots. Yeah. And our paternal grandfather, David, who we call Pop-Up, was mostly with Alan, who was, someplace between a family friend to us and a grandmother, I would say. Like it was like a very interesting, like not super engaged as a grandmother, but like tried with us and like I know still loves us. Like after he passed away, like took us out to dinner. I mean, she's really close to Charlotte. They traveled together.
Yeah, I think she was like his companion too, I would say. Like she was his long-term girlfriend.
They were going to move in together when he passed away.
And he died extremely young. He was 64. I was 18.
65, something like that.
Yeah. So that was
coming up 3 days from now.
Yeah, April 7th. Yeah.
April 7th,
Yeah, and so we grew up with this idea that like family was just the people around you. Like we didn't, and I think because also like our dad's family, they're the age difference. If you go back and listen to the other episodes with John and Leslie.
That's not a hashtag.
I'm going to make it a hashtag. Hashtag go back and listen to the other episodes. Then
with John and Leslie.
John and Leslie. That our uncle and aunt. There's a very, very small age difference between me and them. So we were really, it was interesting because on one side of the family, our maternal side, we were like the little cousins, right? We were like the younger ones, and we were the
youngest cousins on our mom's side,
right? Because we have 4 other older cousins,
right?
And then on our dad's side, we were almost like siblings in a way. Like,
yeah, I think because dad is like 13 years older than John, and John is 13 years older than me, right?
Yeah.
We like the spectrum of like what is an uncle and what is an aunt and what is a cousin and what is a sister. Like even with Leslie, like I think that we're close with Leslie in a way more like cousins than we are like with an aunt. And then
or sisters,
yeah, or sisters. Leslie's kids are more like nieces and nephews to us
than cousins.
I feel than cousins.
Yeah.
Relationally.
Yeah. So
like protective wise,
Yeah. And so I think all that being said, we've always had a fascination. Like what does your family look like? Who are the players in your family? What are the relationships in your family? And so we wanted to kick off this year with these questions, asking people. So we have a variety of people coming on the show. Everything from somebody that's a surrogate for families to different like types of family situations,
structures, people that have made different choices,
right?
Like all these things, and we're not going to give
blended
it away.
families, So no, we're not going to give it away. There's tons of very interesting, really things that you may not have thought about, kind of stories coming up. So, definitely make sure to follow A Fresh Story, to share a fresh story and to comment on anything. Leave a review
And
on Apple.
If you like
Yeah.
rambling episodes like this, let us know because we love recording rambling.
I'm
talk
happy to
over
hold the
each
mic
other
anytime.
episodes.
Yeah,
We
the
talk-
transcription is going to really enjoy taking care of this one.
See
So,
how far AI has come.
as always, thank you for listening. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe so that we can keep telling fresh start stories.
It's a fresh story, come and see. With Olivia and Jenny, be who you need to be. Honest voices, safe and strong. Come as you are, you belong. So take a breath, let's begin. You're not alone, we're here again.